Hey everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode of Canadian Gamers. I don't even know why we're saying it's Canadian Gamers, because it is our Game of the Year award show, but we usually tag these with our Canadian Gamers podcast. Steven and I haven't been together in a while now. It's entirely my fault. School has been brutal. However, the very good news is that I only have 14 weeks left. And then after that, we should be going back to a more regular schedule, at least for podcasts. And I haven't done a review, I think, in like a year. So I would very much like to get a review out for something. I don't know what, but it would be cool to just get something up. So, do you want to have any opening comments before we get right into this thing?
Yeah, sure. By the end of today, you should have two very special gifts in your hands, and you can review those, you bastard.
Wow.
And the reason we call this Canadian Gamers is that we used to actually play games on other consoles like 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And now we don't. But actually, this is the first year where all my games are Nintendo. Well, not all of them are exclusive to Nintendo consoles, but I've played all of these in Nintendo consoles. Last year, I think I had MLB The Show 18 on the list. This year, MLB The Show 19 was like one of the last game I scratched off my top 10 list, so it almost made it. I guess it would be one of my honorable mentions that I don't usually do, but Jarrod always does. So there it is, MLB The Show 19, and now I'm glad that these games will eventually come to the Switch, apparently for some reason that I still don't understand, but I'm very happy about. But yeah, this year I have 9 Nintendo Switch games and 1 3DS games. So nothing from the PS4 or the Xbox One, since I don't actually own an Xbox One anymore, or a PC, because my PC cannot play anything past the NES generation.
So before we begin, just one thing that you mentioned that sort of struck a chord with me is I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens for me anyway, come next year. Like, come the summer of next year, I'm very curious to see, in terms of gaming, what happens, because I'll actually have time again. Like, when I get home from work, I won't have to be working on assignments and reading and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of curious to see what will happen with that. There was some news that I thought was kind of interesting with this whole Xbox Series X. So like the next generation is really coming up, but like you, I no longer have an Xbox One, and I don't really see the need of picking up a Series X, because with Microsoft, everything that's available in terms of first party is not only available on console, but it's also available on PC. So I'm not entirely sure why would you buy that if you have access to a powerful enough PC. So it's gonna be interesting. Anyway, okay, so I actually have one PlayStation 4 game on here, which I'll talk about. I'll talk about that. And it was a total fluke, I'll be honest. Total fluke. But we'll get started. So, do you want me to do 10-9 and we'll go from there, or do you want to start with 10-9?
Yeah, usually we start with 10 and then the other one does 10-9. So, go ahead, perfect. Start.
Okay, so I do have one honorable mention, and that is the Final Fantasy VIII. I don't know, what is that actually called? Because it's not a remake. What was it called? Remaster?
I have no clue.
I think it was something like that. So, honorable mention, I only just started to dabble with it, and much like the Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX remasters, like, there's a lot of quality of life improvements, and it's certainly one, Steven, you should check out when you have, like an itch to play like an RPG, because they actually did a really good job with the remaster of the assets. The only problem I find is the background assets are like kind of blurry and stuff, but an honorable mention there, because I just, like I said, just dabbled, played maybe 20 minutes just to see what it looked like. And that's something that's going to be really important as we go ahead, is there are actually very few games I've been able to play, just strictly based on time. So this is always something to be mindful of. These are the games that we played, and so here we go. So my number 10 is Gato Roboto. This was a very, very fun, very cool Metroidvania style game that was not punishing at all. I found it was like, do you remember how long it was? It was like, what, 3-4 hours, something like that?
Yeah, for me it took a little bit under 4.
Okay, so let's say that. Let's say 4 hours, something like that. And I had an absolute blast with it. And that came out, if I'm not mistaken, in the summer. So I actually had time to play that, and it was fun. It was really, really, really fun. So that's my number 10.
Yeah, Gato Roboto, I really loved it because I thought the visual styles was awesome. The gameplay was super simple, and the length was perfect. Like, it's a game you finish in 1 or 2 sittings, maybe 3. And the price was right. I think it's a $10 game.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I had it for like 30 cents because I had so many coins saved up, but it was like perfect value. For me, my number 10 is Super Blood Hockey.
Oh yeah.
That game I actually reviewed on the site. I really loved it. It blew all my expectations away, because when I saw the trailer for this, I thought, yeah, this is just ice hockey ripoff with a violence tagged on it, just to try to sell some extra copies with that. But actually, what had a lot of depth. I love the franchise mode. The franchise mode is probably the only reason to play this game. It's so much like. I think I played like 3 or 4 seasons of the franchise mode, which is probably the longest I've actually put into a franchise mode of any sports game. And I really wish, and I think when I went to the Steam message boards where the developer of this game was very active back then, and they seemed to indicate they were working on a sequel. And I hope they are, and I can't wait to play that. And because there's a few simple little fixes that I wish they would incorporate into the franchise mode. And that's pretty much it for my number 10. Super Blood Hockey, $15. Really, if you love hockey games, it's actually the only hockey game right now on the Switch, so you can't go wrong with that one. At number 9, I have Little Town Hero. From Game Freak. This was released, I believe, October 14. This was a game I wasn't sure if I would have time to play, because it came right in between Dragon Quest 11 and Luigi's Mansion 3. And I managed to, I think I downloaded 1 week before Luigi's Mansion came out. And it's not really a long game. It's probably around 10-15 hours, but it's a lot of fun. I've never actually played a game like this. The battle system is very unique. You don't actually level up your characters, but you can level up all your various attacks, which you actually need to do by the end of the game. And it's a strategy game, really similar to card gameplay, but not exactly like that. It has a nice little story. It's a really fun game. It doesn't run super well. I don't know if Game Freak are the best at making video games run on the Switch, but it's still very well worth your while, and a very nice game. I'm really glad I played it, and that's it for my number 9.
Very nice, very nice. Both games I remember you talking quite a bit about. I'm curious to see if there's going to be any surprises when you go on your 6-month hiatus of not texting me, you monster. But it'll be interesting to see. My number 9 is Cadence of Hyrule: Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda. And yes, that is actually what the game was called. This came out of complete left field for me. It was actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was you, or did I watch it? No, I think it was you. I'm pretty sure it was you who watched like the Nindies, and you were like, oh man, like check this out, this is pretty cool. And it's basically like a rhythm dance action adventure game, and Steven struggled with this like crazy, which was so hilarious, because I was like, what are you doing wrong? Like, this is not hard at all. And I actually had an absolute blast with this. It's not the type of game that I would like pick up and play, I think, like 50 times. I'm not going to go back to this, I don't think, but for what it was, I thought it was very, very cool. and I did not expect that at all. Like I did not expect to have like almost like a real Zelda adventure, but in this weird hybrid of like some sort of rhythm beat game with like your classic sort of action RPG style that Zelda, like the top-down Zeldas have. So very cool, very very cool. Number 8 is something I'm actually playing right now in my spare time, which is Collection of Mana. And this, if you don't know, this has the original Game Boy Final Fantasy Adventure. It has Secret of Mana, and it has, I believe it's called Trials of Mana, I think, is what the third one is. It's Seiken Densetsu 3. And this is the first time it's ever been made available in English. And I'm actually playing through Secret of Mana right now, just because I haven't played that in so long. And it's a perfect type of game for you to just pick up and play for like 20 minutes, something like that. And I'm having an absolute blast with it. And that actually really comes highly recommended. If you check on Amazon, you can probably get this for like $20, $25 now. So really encourage people to pick this up, because Secret of Mana it's a legendary action RPG. And if you've never played it before, one note to make, because I know some people I was talking to online were saying that it's not like Zelda, and no, it isn't. It's not at all, because it actually has like an active time sort of meter, if you will, built into the striking system or the combat system. And I know that might sound like, what? But you can press the button, say like B, you can just mash on it all you want, but you'll notice that you're not going to inflict any damage whatsoever to enemies. And if you don't touch the button, you'll see that a meter will go to 100%, and that's like fully charging your attack. So that's sort of almost like a turn-based system in the context that you have to wait before you can do your attacks. And anyways, just a little advice there, but that's it. So that's my number 9 and my number 8.
Yeah, that's why when you did your Secret of Mana playthrough with the Japanese games, that's why I never played the game, because I was a big Final Fantasy Adventure fan. But then I saw you playing the game, and I saw that it was not like actually like the first game as far as the combat is, and I don't know, it just seems off to me and seems not fun. But maybe if I played it, I would change my mind. For me, number 8 is Cadence of Hyrule, and I'm glad you said it before me, because I did not write the full title and I do not care what it is. It's Cadence of Hyrule in my mind. I had a blast with this because it felt like a 2D Zelda, and that's what I wanted to play. It was really fun. I think it's like a 5 to 10 hour game, and it's a lot of fun to collect all the collectibles. But like you said, I have no sense of rhythm whatsoever, so it was hilarious seeing me play. But after about an hour, you get like so much stuff, you get overpowered that you don't really need to be good at the rhythm portion of the game to actually have fun here. So Cadence of Hyrule, my number 8. As for my number 7, it's my only 3DS game on the list. I believe this is the not the last Nintendo published 3DS game to ever be released here, but the one before. So I don't know how you say that. How do you say that in English? Avant-dernier would be what I would say in French, but
yeah, it's like the penultimate is the but don't go there. That's not, just doesn't matter. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Yokai Watch 3. It's kind of sad to see what this series has become now, because I think Yokai Watch 4 was released this year in Japan and it bombed. Like it didn't sell at all. And now the series is going multi-platform because of that. Like the PlayStation 4 will get Yokai Watch 4 and we'll get the Yokai Watch 1 remake. So, and it's sad because this series on 3DS was really like one of the most hidden gems of the system, like one of the best kept secrets of the 3DS. I still think the second one is the best one of the bunch, but the third one is a lot of fun. It probably has a battle system that's more casual. More people will enjoy this battle system than the other two because it's kind of a grid-based game. The story is nice too. There's a lot more yokai to catch. So yeah, Yokai Watch 3 is a nice way to, if you still haven't tried the Yokai Watch series on the 3DS, you can't go wrong with Yokai Watch 3.
Glorious. That's a series that I just never. I mean, I got the first one from you, and it was cool for what it was. I just never. I never stuck with that series like at all, and it's sad to see what became of it because at one point, man, it was huge, especially in Japan. Okay, so my number 7 might be a little perplexing, but I'll explain why. So my number 7 is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. And for those that know me, they might be surprised, like, number 7, why isn't that like way higher? And I don't know why it's not way higher. I loved it. Link's Awakening is a fantastic game. This was a great remake. It's just I spent so much time with this particular game in the past, like on my Game Boy, and I was never a portable gamer, but that was the one exception. Like I literally beat the living snot out of this game, and I just didn't really connect with the new additions there that they added, like the build your own dungeon thing. I thought it was extremely repetitive, and outside that, the game was the game. I loved the graphical style, loved everything else that they did, and some of the dialogue changes they made and further expansions. But overall, it was basically a Game Boy game. So when I finished it, I moved on. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a really great game, great experience, but I moved on. And so that's why it's sort of like number 7. And it did surprise me, to be honest, but the titles that I have higher than this really impacted me in different ways. So number 6 is what is, in my opinion, the second biggest Kickstarter or more successful Kickstarter ever. The first was Shovel Knight, which obviously is not on this list because that was from ages ago. But number 2 here, like for most successful Kickstarters, was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The only problem I have with this is that I was supposed to get 2 copies of the game and I only ever received 1, so I actually have to buy Steven this. And no, I did not get it for Christmas for you, you monster. But Bloodstained Ritual of the Night really didn't disappoint me. It truly didn't. I thought it was a fantastic game in every shape, way, form, everything. It was pretty much exactly what he promised. The only sort of downside I can see to this now is that, much like Shovel Knight, that took 7 years or whatever in order, probably not that long, but that took years and years and years to fulfill its Kickstarter promise. I can see the exact same thing happening with Bloodstain, because they just kept promising so many different features, so many different like additions, that I'm really happy that the main game is very fun, and it's great to have another Metroidvania style game. And yes, it doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything, but I'm very concerned that it's going to be like 2029 by the time we get all the different features that have been promised for it. So anyway, that's my number 7 and number 6.
I would have loved to play Bloodstain. I actually had it on pre-order, but then you told me you bought it for me, or you had it for me. You had the Switch version.
I
for
did,
me.
yep.
So I canceled my pre-order, and then you failed to deliver on that promise. So I never played it yet.
It's good.
Which is sad because it's one of those games I really wanted to play.
I'll get it for you. Don't worry.
It's all Jarrod's fault.
Naturally.
My number 6 is Fire Emblem, and I'm gonna say this wrong, but Three
Houses.
Yeah, Three Houses. I'm trying not to say 3, but whatever. It's the number 3.
Yeah.
And it was just a fantastic game. I really loved how the new options, that basically every character can be any class, and you need to spend and raise them in a very specific way to create your army in what, like, depending on what character you need. It's a lot of fun to do so. The story is fantastic, really, really well done, until the last like 2 or 3 chapters where it falls apart, in my opinion. But before that, like, I was really hooked into that, and I was thinking this would like surpass my best Fire Emblem game, which is currently either Awakening or the Wii one, which I forget the name right now for some reason. But the gameplay is fantastic, really well done. Fire Emblem. I'm not a fan of the in between missions portion where you need to explore the village and do side stuff like that. I hope this doesn't make a return in the next one. I really hope it doesn't, because in my opinion it kind of breaks. It's fine at the beginning, but at the end there, it breaks the pace. Like, I just want to play those missions and have the story continue. For me, number 5 is Yoshi's Crafted World. This was a really early surprise. I think this came out in February or March, and I was not expecting to really fell in love with this game because I've never been. I know this is blasphemous, but I've never been a huge Yoshi Story or Yoshi's Island fan. Never really. I don't know if it's because the original was called Mario World 2 and it never lived up to Mario World in my opinion, but I know a lot of people love those games. But I played this and just had a blast. It was just so fun, so like, I don't know what it was. It was charming, and it just felt like relaxing to play it. Like it felt like a platformer that you could just play and not care about anything and have fun. And that's exactly what it was, and that's why it's so high on my list.
That's glorious. You know what? We're very similar, you and I. I share that sentiment where I found, Yoshi's Island just never really did it for me compared to Super Mario World, and I think that, much like what you're saying, I kind of share that sentiment where it was like I don't know, I just gravitated away from it because I was just like, it's no big deal. I know Ahmed has been saying for years, like, you got to check it out, it's amazing, and so on. But yeah, interesting. Okay, that's cool. All right, so my number 5 is Ion Fury. Dun, 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 dun. This blew my mind. Now, want to make a note here. So Ion Fury it's a first-person shooter using the same engine as Duke Nukem 3D, but it's awesome because it's like making a first-person shooter using retro technology. And this was, I believe, the last review I did, or at least one of the last reviews I did earlier this year. And it was originally in Steam Early Access dating back to February 2018, but the final retail release hit in August of this year, and it just blew my mind. And it's like it's changed my whole opinion of how you can make retro video games, because it's like these guys literally took they expanded upon the technology, but they're working with a 30, not 30, but a 15, 20-year-old engine. And I thought that's really cool. That's really, really an interesting approach. And there's also, I think it's called Wrath or Wrath, Aeon of Fury or something like that. Or Aeon of Fate or something like that. And that game just entered early access, but I don't add those. I don't even mention as an honorable mention because it's not... it's early access, so think of it like an over glorified demo. So anyway, yeah, that's my number 5, an actual PC game. I know, it's shocking. Number 4 was one of my top games last year, which was, or maybe it was my top game, which is Dragon Quest Builders 2. Why that ranks so high up again is because this was the North American release, and shockingly, I fell in love with it all over again, and I invested another 80 plus hours into it, building all kinds of stuff, and just having an overall blast. I absolutely love Builders 2. I think it's phenomenal, and I'm really hoping that we get an announcement of Builders 3 in 2020. I find we don't have enough Dragon Quest games to look forward to for next year, and I really hope that early next year we get some announcements and confirmations of games in the work, because right now it seems kind of weird that there's no Dragon Quest games to look forward to. We know there's a new Monsters game coming out, but we don't know when, we don't know what systems or anything. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I still haven't played that one, and I need to, because I really like the first one, and I heard there's a lot of improvements with that one, but it came out 13 days after a specific game came out, so I never had the chance to try it. For me, number 4 is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which you've already mentioned. I did not have any negative at all with this game. I thought this was amazing. I thought the building aspects of it weren't that great, but for some reason I still played a lot of it and finished everything into the game. It surprised me because I was expecting just a game I would play from start to finish just to have a good time, but actually really got into it, and some of the dungeons took me forever to finish, even though I had already played the game before. So it was really surprising how much I enjoyed Link's Awakening, and I was glad to have played it. For me, my number 3 is Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I don't want to talk that long with this game because I could talk for hours. I still want to review this, and I probably might do that actually after that while you're technically on vacation-ish, so you might have time to record gameplay. I'm currently, like, I think I'm 115 hours into this game, and I don't see any end in sight. It's really addicting. It's a Pokemon game. For me, Pokemon games is the game I can play every year. They don't need to make that much change to them. The wild area is crazy. I'm basically spending all my time breeding for shinies and doing max raid battles to try and get the few G-Max Pokemon I don't have yet. So it's a lot of fun. I love the fact that they've added like PvE, which we never really had before, like the max raid battles. I've actually done some with Jarrod like a few weeks ago. It's just a blast to do so, because I'm a big guy that likes to play competitive Pokemon, but I know that's not for everybody. Like Jarrod never doesn't really get into that, but actually playing with co-op Pokemon is something I've never done before, but now I have that option, so I can actually play this game with Jarrod in other ways than just like trading and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. The story was a hit and miss. Like there were some part that I found epic, but there's like some kind of heel turn at the end that I just found was, the reasoning behind it made no sense. It was there just to have like a bad guy at the end. It didn't really make sense why he thought that he needed to do that to save this region from something that's supposed to happen in 1,000 years. We're not even sure what it is. We're not really clear. There's a lot of stuff that happens off screen during the story. It seems like they've devoted most of their time on the wild area and didn't have time to develop the story more, because after Sun and Moon, which I thought had one of the most developed story in all of Pokemon, this was a letdown in terms of story. But I really enjoyed the actual game, all the post-game stuff, like max raid battles. Basically, there's a lot to keep you from playing. I do, however, am extremely disappointed that there's now a 20-minute time limit in 6v6 online battles for some reason, and there doesn't seem to be a workaround. And this is something I think would be a simple fix in an upcoming patch, or just changing the rules, because they can actually do that, Game Freak, at any time. Because sometimes when you have a good 6-on-6 battle, it can last anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. So having that 20-minute time limit is like, doesn't make any sense whatsoever, especially since Game Freak or the Pokemon Company doesn't actually use 6v6 single battles anywhere. Like when they're using their online competitions or their big VGC tournaments that they do every year, they go with VGC rules, which is doubles. And when they have single battles, it's only 3-on-3 battles. So I don't know why they felt they needed to put this stupid limitation on us, because 6v6 is a huge part of the YouTube community, and I hope they fix it. But Game Freak, kind of like Nintendo's old mentality, they seem to think that they know better. They know what we want more than we do. So I don't think they'll ever fix this, sadly, which is a big letdown for me. Especially because I haven't done any competitive battle. I'm still shiny breeding right now, and I'm taking my time. So maybe this won't be a big deal for me, but I doubt it, because I really like this. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about Sword and Shield, because I'm going to review this game eventually and maybe do a few more videos just with more nitpicks and stuff I like about this game. So that's why it's my number 3.
Amazing. My number 3 is the exact same game, and I'm not going to regurgitate everything you just said. I will say, though, that it has the potential of being higher. I just I have not devoted as much time to it as I'd like. I finished the game. I finished post story. I just now want to get back and go into the wild area and stuff like that. I've been so busy with the Christmas season of having to go buy gifts and all that jazz that I just haven't had any opportunity. But I agree with you. I really like the raids. I really like the co-op aspect of it. I've always been like that kind of gamer. And I'm not going to bother. You just literally said tons of stuff about it. So, yeah, that's my number 3. And my number 2 is a surprise. And this is one that I haven't really talked about. And it was released in January 2019. And it is my only PlayStation 4 game. And I picked it up for literally nothing. Like, it was, well, okay, not literally nothing, but almost nothing. I picked it up for like $20. It was on sale, and that is Resident Evil 2 Remake. This, I don't know how to get you to play this, but you need to play this.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 is my favorite Resident Evil game, but the problem with this one is that the post-game stuff in Resident Evil 2, like the Tyrant stuff, is now... the reason I like Resident Evil 2 was optional. Now it's not. You're getting chased by this huge freak, and I cannot handle that. That's the only reason I haven't played this game, is I know that this is not optional anymore, and I don't want to handle it.
Well, I'll just say, like, perfect game? Not at all. Okay? I'm not one, like, for me, when I'll be honest, I was looking for, like, a baby mode. I really was. I just wanted to experience the story. I was going to play this on like kid mode, like something ridiculously easy. And the reason why is I just wanted to blast through it in a handful of hours.
Is there an option?
Not.
Is there a baby mode?
Yeah,
that's the problem.
So
yeah.
there are rather difficulty options. One of which does make the game easier, and I'm putting that in quotations. But no matter what you do, there's adaptive difficulty, meaning that if you die all the time, they say, "Oh, go play this mode." I forget what it's called. That's the mode I'm starting on. But even then, I find like I have no bullets like all the time. I'm constantly running away from zombies and stuff like that, knowing that when I go back in the room, I'm gonna have to do it again. And it's just that was the only downside that I had. And the other thing was that there's virtually no reason to play as the other character. Yes, there's like additional bosses and there's a little bit of story, but it's not like the original where it's like fundamentally different, which was that's a little bit disappointing. But in terms of an overall remake, right, like I was like, this is how you do it, like it got more right than it got wrong. And I'm actually very much looking forward to Resident Evil 3, which I know you'll never play because you never played it originally.
I did play it, right. Bastard.
Sure. Well, there you go.
Finished it. There's a difference, but
so this was a big surprise for me, though. I'll be honest. It was a real big surprise for me. I did not even expect to play this, let alone have a real blast with it. It's a really solid remake, and I'm really happy to see sort of Resident Evil like kind of back in a positive way, not like some joke. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, I as when I found out that being chased was no longer optional, I never tried it. I hate being chased, but next year though I will play a PS4 game because next year is Last of Us 2, and that one I will play. Okay, so my number 2, and I don't have the full title here, but I think this will be your number 1, so you'll probably have it for me, is Dragon Quest 11S, and whatever comes after that, you'll say it later. But yeah, this game, Jarrod kept bothering me when this first came out to make sure to play the post game, and he was afraid I wasn't gonna play it, and I ended up I probably played the North American version more than you. So you're the monster now, but I had a blast with this game. No, but I mean in terms of actual hours.
Yeah, but that's because you suck. So that's all.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. We actually did the full review of this game if you want to hear it. Our opinions are pretty much the same. I just had a bit more I guess Jarrod will. He's such a fanboy that everything
Perfect.
they do is
Yeah, I know.
a-okay. I had a bit more critique of the game, but fundamentally this is an awesome game. Probably one of my favorite JRPG ever released, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. We'll talk maybe a bit more about this game it's probably gonna be a number one. We never know. For me, my number one is, and this is no surprise, I think Jarrod already knows what it is, but it's Super Mario Maker 2. This is the game that came out 13 days before Dragon Quest Builders 2, where basically anything released in that same time slot is screwed, because Mario Maker quietly became one of my favorite IPs when it was released on the Wii U. It's just perfect for me. I love 2D Mario, and I love to be able to make my own creations, and I love to play whatever creations my friends make. And this is it. This is a game I've played now 200 hours into. They've just added a new update, which is awesome. I think you would love these new levels, because you can now play as Link in Mario, and it's not just like the original Mario Maker, where it's just a costume swap. You actually have the downward thrust, you have bombs, you have arrows. It's amazing that you can now play Mario 1 levels as Link. It's just, you should try some of the levels people have made. They're awesome, and people are so creative, and it's just so much fun making the levels you want to make. And I haven't played as much lately, but I've been really into making Kaizo light levels, which use a lot of shell jumping and various techniques you don't actually use in Mario but are actually in the games. And I've made a lot of these levels that just one of my friends simply cannot beat, and it's hilarious, because he's like to the point where he's almost thinking of breaking his Switch because he can't play it. And he did the same thing with me. He made 2 levels that were extremely hard. One which I literally came back from work on a Tuesday, and when the kids went to bed, I tried to beat his level, and it took me 4 straight hours to beat non-stop. All I played was this single level, and the beginning, like the first 10 seconds of the level took me like an hour to be able to comfortably beat it every time, the first 10 seconds of the part. But then there's like another like 2 minutes in the level to beat, and it's extremely hard, and I did it. And when I did it, 4 hours after, my hands were so sweaty that I had trouble just going on Facebook Messenger and just to tell him to where to stick it. It took me, my hands were so sweaty that I could not even write. It took me forever to write a simple like two sentence message, whatever. Was amazing. And then he did another level a few weeks after, and Mario Maker is just awesome. And I hope they keep doing updates. I know with Mario Maker 1, they did like updates like this like for a whole year after release, but then on the Wii U, Nintendo didn't really have much to concentrate on. With this game, like obviously they had like, after that they still had like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 that came out. They had Fire Emblem, they had Luigi, they had Pokemon, they had tons of other games that came out after this. They didn't have that problem with the Wii U release. So because the first update just came out like 4 or 5 months after, I hope they do a few more, maybe 2 more, and then whatever, they'll probably move on. But yeah, Mario Maker 2, what a game that was. Still planning on playing more, and yeah, Mario Maker 2 is awesome. And before we continue, I just want to say quickly that I'm really glad they pushed Animal Crossing to 2020, because that would have been ridiculous to have Mario Maker 2, Animal Crossing, and Pokemon in like a few months span. I would have like died probably out of like no time. I would just have played too much and then died of no sleep. And I also wanted to add my most disappointing game of 2019 is Luigi's Mansion 3. I've actually played it. It took me 10 hours. First off, the fact that there's no inverted aiming in 2019 is ridiculous. I've made a video out of this, and most people agreed with me. There was a few who didn't, but I just cannot believe how you can make a game that aiming with the second stick is so crucial, and you cannot give the options to some people like me to invert it. That's just unacceptable in my book. And even if it was inverted, the game is kind of forgettable. I don't know why. It compared to the original and the second one, I think I will probably never play Luigi's Mansion 3 again, even if they do patch it later with the inverted option. I don't think I'll ever play it again. It's just not that good. But I did beat it, so at least I did that. But for some reason, and I noticed that, I know you're inverted like me, but I noticed that it's only for the right stick. If you're aiming with the left stick, I don't play inverted. It's weird because there are some games like Resident Evil 4 where you need to press a button and you press R to aim, and you aim with the left stick. And in those games, I don't use inverted. But if it's the other stick, I need to be inverted. It's weird. I just figured this out recently, but whatever. I just thought I'd leave that in.
Glorious. Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 is one that I actually had it on my list until you told me not to, not that you said not to play it, but you were like, it doesn't have the inverted, and I was like, ugh, I don't know if I'm going to like that or whatever. So, yeah, no, I think I'm just going to leave that out. And as for Mario Maker, I mean, that was no surprise for me, none whatsoever. And my number one is no surprise either. It's WWE 2K18. No, I kid. That game is just awful, but it's hysterical for looking at bugs and stuff. I've never laughed so hard as seeing some GIFs on that. It's just hysterical. No, so my number one is, I think it was the same 2 years ago, but whatever, is Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. What a bloody mouthful. And I have nothing to say about this except for the fact that I didn't think this was going to be my number one, to be really honest with you. I really did not expect this to be number one again. And the reason for that was that I just adored the Japanese release, that I just didn't see the North American one, sparking my interest all that much all over again so quickly. Usually with Dragon Quest, it takes I don't know, 4 or 5 years before I get the itch to play it again. But man, I had such a blast. I really did. I had such a blast going through. The new content was cool. It wasn't amazing, but it was cool. And just overall, I thought it was amazing, and I had such a good time with it. And that's pretty much that. And looking ahead to 2020, I think it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, I'm not sure where we're going. There's going to be a whole new generation by this time next year. I know for a fact that I will be playing The Last of Us 2. That's for sure. There's also going to be a new Halo released, which I still very much like Halo. I still very much like Halo. The last one I thought was, I don't want to say weak, but it wasn't as enticing or exciting, I found. But I am still very much looking forward to seeing where are they going with Halo. So those are two games that definitely won't be on Nintendo property that I'm gonna be interested in checking out. Animal Crossing, like you said, I'm happy that with school there's no exams, because I know for a fact that Penis Village is going to be the place to be. And I can't wait for our dance-offs and holding hands, running through my trees, and this bastard stealing my fossils and stuff.
Oh yeah, your
Everything.
Flowers. Damn right, your flowers are mine.
So that's it. So that's that's pretty much it. Now I've got people knocking on my door, so they're being jerks, which is nice. So yes, we're
gonna end this right here.
Okay, we'll end this right now. God, what a way to end it. Okay. Anyways, thanks for joining, everyone. Take care.